as our red Terran here, hailing from Russia, it is Milkicow.
And his opponent spawning in the bottom right, we have the blue Protoss player. He is Harstem. Reppin' Shopify Rebellion. Shout out to those guys. They're active on their socials, getting some cheeky tweets out for their players this week to Muslim. They've been supporting a lot in StarCraft, so you love to see it.
You certainly do. It's been a little bit of a rough start in this group so far for our boy Harstem. As beautiful as he is, the results so far, he had a bit of a... I almost don't want to call it upsets because these players that he lost to are good. Like Gung Fu Banda's doing really well. Goblin also doing extremely well. But more often than not, I would have said Harstem was a favorite against Goblin and maybe Gung Fu, even though Gung Fu's done extremely well this season. But yeah, his next few matches, they're not going to be easy because Harstem still has max packs left and he still has Clem, maybe more importantly, left. So this absolutely for Harstem, a must win at this point because it just doesn't get any easier for him. In fact, it gets a whole heck lot harder. So yeah, I'm a little bit worried for him. But when it goes to going up against Milkicow, he's not going to take this lightly because Milkicow. I kind of like that name actually, Milkicow. He's a tough little fierce Terran. They're young Terrans. They're aggressive. They're feisty. They know how to attack you. Oh my god, this probe! Oh, just got away.
That SCV RNG. We just watched a man roll a D20. He barely made the saving throw on his worker to keep it up, and finishes the wall. I like that. And I feel like the Muslim, you know, when we get new players that come up that we get to see a little bit more that make it onto the stream, I feel like it's fair to continue to come up with good puns for them. You know,
I mean, Milkicow is, you know, that's going to stick with me, Nate. You know, like we talked about in the map names, it was like, yeah, glittering asses will forever be in my repertoire now for a map. You know,
that's there. That's burned in.
Now Milkicow as well. All right, but this is a pretty darn standard opening from both sides. Milkicow did not opt for the Reaper into Marine build, and he also went for the high ground TC, and it is into the reactor straight up, but you can do that when you don't have to defend your low ground TC immediately. Just good solid stuff on both sides. Harstem opting for the Stargate and tried to go for the full-up probe scout, but will be met by a Hellion here.
Yeah, so gives him a good little bit of early map presence to try to be annoying. But we've seen a couple of these Stargate openers now, haven't we, today? Harstem going Phoenix first. We had Max Pax bust that out. I mean, he was able to take that pretty wild series against Clem and use the Phoenix early. It's a great effect. That one Reaper Hellion run by coming through. And this has been annoying to deal with this week for a lot of players. But the Adepts actually have that damage to take these guys out pretty quickly. So the Hellion will come in and get to see the Stargate, but not really getting that many workers this time. So Harstem not falling to that trap that a lot of Protoss players have been getting smacked by in the first stages of these games.
Certainly not. And this first Phoenix will fly immediately across the map to get a scout on, just a little bit of confirmation, because right now he has no idea. In his head, it could have been like a proxy pom base or anything like that. But no, he does know now that it's probably the tried and true standard stuff. And Milkicow, for his troubles, he got a couple of probes. He got one on the map, and then he got one in the base. But most importantly, he got the scout. So look how careful he's been with that medevac, Nate. That is some truly careful planning. He's even flying up north here, maybe thinking, all right, there's Phoenix on the map. Where are they at? So now it becomes a little bit of a gamble game for him because he is getting together a very strong anti-Phoenix army back at home.
Yeah, the vibe this is kind of giving off is maybe if I can see the Phoenix or if I do a frontal assault, then I can try to sneak the mines in the back. But, you know, a lot of Protoss players, you get sometimes a little bit confident when you have those Phoenix. And we all know that even just a little bit of underestimation can cost you everything. So if you feel like you're safe, you may not react in time. And look at this. The Viking flies across, trying to get some pros. I mean, that's a pretty bold, adventurous Viking. He's going to trade his life for these Widow Mines to be able to burrow in the main and kill 2 probes. So all things said and done.
The Viking, it wasn't dealt with.
Is he still there?
Yeah, got a few probes on the way out there, and Harstem had to pull both mineral lines. And even though he cleaned up everything, it wasn't for a few losses.
Okay, well, I thought we were going to see that just get popped, and there's a nice little spike in income there, even if it's just briefly for Milkicow. So that's definitely the spot that you want to get into as a Terran. Not too shabby there. If the Phoenix, and that's what I mean, is you feel like you're strong, you feel like you're safe, but even something as simple as trying to go pick that Viking off turned into 5 probes dying.
Certainly did. And now he's got an army out on the map, and Harstem didn't spot this whatsoever. And it is a pretty scary army. But Milkicow, look at him. He's just like, you know what? Let's do a load up drop. I saw your Phoenix on my side of the map. Let's do a load up here. Just leaving a few Marines behind to deal a little bit of damage. Kind of wild play out of Milkicow here, and the Phoenix will catch it on the retreat. Nice movement by Harstem. Get the Phoenix into trouble there. So not the worst trade at all for Milkicow. Let's have a look at the supplies and just see where we are. I kind of like Harstem's setup. I think he's been really good about the probe situation.
Yes. And the third base getting set up as well and quickly as he did is also nice. This is kind of what you expect to see in PvT at this level. Also grabbing a couple of Marines with the Phoenix is pretty good too. What's really interesting is the Robo Bay coming behind this and the continued Phoenix production. So we've seen a nice little bit of Phoenix Colossus today. I really wonder how much inspiration he might have taken from that Max Pax Clem match earlier, as it just makes it so complicated because the Phoenix can neutralize those tanks in the back. There's a lot of area that you can't really run over, those big rocks. You feel safe with the defense, but he can come in and go for a little flank action if he wants to. These units may be a little bit too far forward, though. I don't know, the Immortal should be chilling out there without an army to protect it.
In the next games of this series, it turns out fairly similar, where Harstem's playing a macro game. I'm going to really kind of look at his bases to find out exactly what's going on, because he probed up ridiculously well, and I have to think that he was chrono boosting out probes, because this situation that he's in, where he is a good several workers ahead. In fact, let's have a look. 18 workers ahead in this situation. Milkicow's killed 8. He's killed 4. I just want to make sure what he's doing for the Protoss out there, because it feels like his setup is very, very solid.
Yeah, he's been able to not only deflect. I mean, we did see him take some of those losses earlier, but it's like you said, he was able to get the chrono boost where he needed it to be. And if you can rebuild those workers without giving up the army that you need to defend a push, then everything starts to become gravy. So he's going to push out. This army cannot actually fight Milkicow yet, but he's kind of posturing to Muslim. He's trying to keep him from moving up as fast, and forcing that siege up on the tanks is going to buy him a decent bit of time.
All right, 1 Phoenix for his troubles, but Harstem's just doing a good job of buying time. He would obviously love to have a 4th base on the way, but, you know, not able to do that. Look at Milkicow. His positioning solid. Harstem's been very good and active with his Phoenix. Right now, he's kind of like, all right, is there a drop happening? So he went to the south of the map, but he's constantly poking to see what's going off. But Milkicow is definitely taking advantage of the fact that this army has to be all in one spot at the same time. But the Phoenix, they come in just in the nick of time there for those tanks.
Clutch Phoenix lift ups on the siege tanks, because the rest of it is just Marines, so you don't have that beefy Marauder base trying to get much done. Now at the same time, big drop inside of the main, quite a few gateways getting unpowered on the right side. That stimmed bio getting 9 probes for their trouble as well. And now Milkicow taking a little bit of a lead in terms of the workers. The Phoenix can come get the medevac, but gotta be a little bit careful with the Marines there, and it looks like medevac might be able to get away. We'll see if he's able to chase it down, or if he's just gonna let it ride and add a few more pylons back to get those gateways operational in the main base. You're talking about the 4th to Muslim. He started it up on the southwest side now.
That was a juicy drop though, man. That was really like a big gate drop.
Money.
Like I don't know how these Terrans managed to make it happen. It almost makes me think that he took the fight that he did just because he knew that he wouldn't be able to do multiple things at the same time there. And that drop in the main, 9 probes, made the fight in the middle almost worth it actually, because Milkicow, he's a player that's not scared of the late game. He loves to add the ghost. He loves to get the 4th base up, the 5th base up, and all that jazz. But here, I always get a little bit worried for those Terrans out there, because as soon as the game starts getting late, as soon as disruptors and DTs are on the field, it starts getting a lot scarier.
Yeah, and we see that. I agree, though. It's kind of cool to see that Milkicow, despite kind of being the player with the lesser known brand, obviously Harstem, you know, he's handsome, he's beloved, he's been competing and crushing nerds for a really long time, but Milkicow is not intimidated by that. He's ready to play the long game. He's ready to go the distance in this series if necessary. And I think that that's set up for a pretty fun match, especially since, like you pointed out, we've seen him get good harassed on Phoenix, trying to push off this tower with some Zealot Archon support. But look at that, even a little cheeky depot wall around the bunker on the third base. Milkicow's thinking, he's thinking about all the things that can happen a few minutes from now.
This map is so huge, actually. Like, it's actually kind of tricky to play Phoenix here because they have to be in so many places all at the same time. You can really see that for Harstem. Even though he knows where the army is, he's constantly having to dart here, there, and everywhere just in case drops happen. And Milkicow, he keeps on loading up things and then unloading them and just being kind of tricky, especially when Harstem can see him. Very nice play out of the young Terran over here, but Harstem is managing to keep up. Holy cow, Milkicow's done such a good job of SVing up. Look at that, 88 workers here. Yeah,
I mean, this is that point where you start to be like, well, aren't meals supposed to be what you don't, like you gotta be careful about eating into the potential army supply. He is a little bit oversaturated on that planetary fortress, so you can use it for the time being, but I'm sure he'd like to have another 20 to 30 army supply in a minute or two as that bank starts to build up, since he is maxed out. But for the time being, that money is going into infrastructure, extra starports, ship weapons, all the good stuff that you're going to need to take it to the long haul in the TVP.
Yeah, but there it is, Nate. And
90 SCVs.
That PTSD from me, the reason that my hair fell out, it's coming alive now on the map. We have the Dark Shrine on the way, along with multiple Disruptor production. Harstem's got 2 decent armies here, kind of sharking around on either side of the map. His eco isn't as good as Milkicow's, but it can literally come down to one fight. And Milkicow, also a weird scan in his main base. Maybe there was an observer there. But he does have a very solid army. He's been good on upgrades as well. It's not often that I'm worried for both of them. Like, there hasn't been one really big fight between them. It's just been a lot of little shenanigans going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's it. We've kind of been... There's been a lot of flirting going on in this game, but we have not truly seen them dance just yet, as Harstem set up outside that third. But you've got the sensor tower, so you have a lot of vision, and now this big attack. Milkicow feels confident to push in. He's taking the gold base while this is happening, by the way, so even losing this expansion is not that bad if he can protect his production and the natural. Meanwhile, Harstem still has a huge army knocking on his front door, hitting that 4th base. DT's warping in to try and help deal with this. I don't believe the ghosts have energy for EMP, but there is the scan, and he will continue to push forward. There's the recall. Is Harstem going to be able to push this back? Okay, yeah, tanks are unsieging. Milkicow's, he's going to dip.
Wow, that was a really good retreat from Milkicow. I started getting a bit worried when he, unsieged all the tanks, but he's got a massive red blob army coming back over. Oh, that's the saddest stalker of all time. Decent disruptor shot to pick off, shave off a single tank there, but all things said and done, Milkicow is still on a very good work account, kept that base alive as well, as did Harstem. We've got a really good game here between them.
Yeah, it turns into a banger matchup. Love to see it. Liberation you know what? I just say that word when I think about the Liberators and the upgrade at the same time, but he's going to get the upgrade for the Liberators to have that extra range on their liberation zones, and that's going to be a big one. Meanwhile, we also have DT Blink, all the goodies, all the late game tech of this matchup that your heart possibly asked for. It's coming, and it's coming in hot. I think the only other thing we need to see from Milkicow is maybe that EMP upgrade for the Ghost, but otherwise, you said it to Muslim, he's been doing a lot of good things, really good about not overextending with that fight early on, and despite that trade, he's got the gold. So that's the thing that really can decide that money. When you split this map evenly, that's just resources that'll never be picked up for Harstem. And big attack on the right side, dealing with that drop. With the size of the map, that recall is so crucial to have available. DT backstab, though, going to get a couple of the tanks at the third.
Yeah, I mean, those tanks, even though they feel like, it's just tanks, they're not good against the army anyway, they're pretty nice to stop the disruptors from just having their way with everything. Like, disruptors have to fear stuff, and while you're making that Liberator transition, it's good to have some tanks on the field just to help out a little bit. They also help with the Blink Stalkers all blinking forward because they're all grouped up whenever they do blink, and yeah, tanks definitely make short work of them. But you do have a nice CC farm going down, 4 at the same time. Milkicow is rich, man. He is super rich, but the army of Harstem, as the map gets bigger, it gets wider, it's going to be easier for him to look for little holes, and that's a bye-bye PF over there.
Yeah, you blink all those DTs in, and I know that they have that little delay right after they blink before they can attack, but it does not really have too much of an impact when there's 7 to 14 of them. It's a lot of damage, and he's got another little hit squad prepared. This bottom left planetary does have 1 tank, but it's not actually in range of the PF itself, so if he just sends all these DTs to the bottom side of it and blinks in, he might be able to just grab the turret and then the planetary itself.
Yeah, and it's almost like a role reversal at this point of normal PvT. Like, for a long time, the Terran's very mobile, and it's the Protoss that's kind of static. Whereas now, that Protoss army starts to get a lot more fluid. The DTs can obviously move around a lot. The whole army doesn't need to siege up, whereas these Liberators, they really need a good fight. If you wrap around them, it's a slow Terran army, but even though it is stronger in the straight-up fight, it's about, can it get that straight-up fight?
Yeah, he does have enough of them to cover for a flank, and I think that's the really important thing here and why Harstem has to retreat and give this base up. +2 ship weapons is also done. So on the back side of it, Harstem's just going to try and go for some DT counter harass. Scan is going to save the planetary on the top side. The third had to be lifted up for the 100th time in this game.
Oh, and Milkicow supply, it's not maxed out right now. And that isn't because he can't, because he does have the money. It's just those DTs back at home are definitely making him work for it. But Milkicow, man, look at how many bases he's taken behind all this. Like, he hasn't been a one-track mind here, Nate. He's been pretty damn solid with his macro, and he's kind of bullying around Harstem, but he's a good, juicy disruptor. And oh my goodness, he took out all that bio.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder myself, okay, well, he's walking right into quite a few too many liberation zones there. A lot of units getting popped, but it kind of leads me to what I was about to get to. Are we going to see that back to the Stargate transition? Harstem did open with it. He has it on the table if he wanted to try to move into something like Tempest, and he has enough money to make that investment. But if he doesn't get another base, he will end up only being able to make one of those moves. Because like you said, Milkicow has eaten the map. The gold base has given him a ton of money. Even with all the DT harass that we've constantly seen, he's still been able to replenish, and Stalkers are going to grab a few of the Liberators as he tries to cut off the gold gas.
It's a really nice retreat, but it was a nice catch by Harstem at the same time. One thing for Milkicow this game is the fact that his ETIC account was so high for so long. His gas and mineral income has been insane. Very often you find it kind of hard to get the Liberators out, but he's got 13 on the map. These DTs, though, oh my goodness. Oh, it's going to be so difficult for Milkicow. He has to do so many things all at the same time, but look at this fight, Nate. That is so many libs.
Stepping away from it, blinking out, but the disruptors were the ones left behind, and that's just a tremendous amount of the firepower taken off the field for Harstem. This bio can continue to chase. It is a lot of Marauders, no Zealots, no DTs to back it up. So I think if you're Milkicow, you might be seeing an opportunity to deliver that decisive strike as he continues to move forward. We have 14 Liberators, so you do not need a whole lot of support. You don't really need as many units on the ground as you typically would. If these libs can cut off the right spots, you can do so much work. And there they are, sieging. The Stalkers are trying, but the Colossus is destroyed. And there's still those Marauders on the ground, absolutely ripping these Stalkers to pieces.
I mean, these Marauders are 3-3 upgraded. They are going to make short work of those Stalkers. All of a sudden, Harstem's on the back foot, man. And this is kind of like his last fully operational base. The other ones are mining out pronto, and Stalkers, they're trying to dance, they're trying to do what they can, even bringing a DT in over here, but these Liberators taking them out. Even if he does, oh my god, that's so many DTs, holy crap.
In the Invisible Man comeback strategy, it is enough to clear out the majority of the forces on the ground. The Liberators getting surrounded, having to do a little bit much juggle micro there on them, so he's like, okay, we need to just pull back. Harstem did burn through most of the bank that he had left, and I think that's the key thing we were both talking about there, DeMuslim. That right side base, very crucial for the Dutchman to stay in this one, but that is what it all rests on. He killed the gold, but Milkicow still has so many resources left at that west base, both of the top center ones, and these Liberators with range. Again, even if you don't want to play Stargate, you are going to have to, or these bad boys are going to lock down these mineral patches forever.
They certainly are. There's a PF with the armor upgrade, so it definitely has the armor to help out with this heavy, very heavy damage army. Although disruptor shots, a few of them do miss, but one of them does not. The second one doing pretty damn good on the bio army as well. The supplies, they're neck and neck, 154, 153 a piece. And Harstem, he doesn't, like, if he had a few Zealots in the mix here, it would make him so much harder to chase down.
Yeah, the Liberators are going to help punch through there as well. Another counter attack with the DTs, but I kind of like this. Leaves the Liberators to cover. They're honestly just one of the best units you can make versus Protoss, especially when they refuse to use that Stargate tech. And he's going to try and step through here. Finally gets an opportunity to clear out a decent number of them, but the bio reinforces from the side, and Milkicow is going to take game number 1. Looking absolutely fantastic in that first map to Muslim.
That is the look of a fresh-faced little gunner over there, man. He played really damn good TVP, like really good. He wasn't scared of the late game, and that, honestly, I was like, oh my God, I'm so worried for him, but he handled it all so well. I really love this high eco approach that he had, where he's just on like 90 SCVs, he's absorbing everything. Doesn't matter if he takes a few punches. He was also really good about not leaving any base to just kind of go down. Every time he could lift up a base, he did it, kept all his SCVs alive, always did a little bit of damage, poking and prodding as well. And when it got to him having that bottom left base and the top bases, and it's like, okay, he took down that base of Harstem's, Harstem couldn't just keep on briggling to the other side of the map because Milkicow took it. And it was like, all right, what does he do from here? He has to retake that base, and that slows down a Protoss so damn hard that, yeah, I was just thoroughly enjoying Milkicow's style there.
Yeah, really pulled him apart. And that map, Cosmic Sapphire, is just huge. It is a gigantic map from that top right to bottom left, like you were saying. Getting back and forth there is really difficult. And anytime that recall is on cooldown, Harstem just doesn't have a way to match the mobility of those huge bio hit squads, particularly when you've got 14 plus 3 Liberators backing them up. All your units are getting 2-tapped. It's not an easy position to play from. So we move to a little bit of a different one here on Moondance, but still quite a hill to climb for the Dutchman. We have in the top left the red Terran player. He is Milkicow.
Really impressive play out of him, man. Absolutely was. And spawning over in the bottom right, representing the Shopify Rebellion, it is Harstem. Moondance is always an interesting map in my eyes. It's like, all right, what do Protoss choose to do? You see Harstem here, who is like, all right, I've got a lot of space around my base. Are you going to be up to no good, being a little cheeky with a proxy or what have you? And it's like, all right, keeps on scouting, just making sure that nothing's going on. Very often it's the Protoss that is the one wanting to scout immediately across the map. But yeah, he was very worried about a proxy here.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? We're feeling a little bit of the pressure because Milkicow definitely some of those unknown variables, because he hasn't played as many games broadcast as a guy like Harstem. Whereas, I mean, you take it to the flip side to Muslim, you're not expecting Harstem to proxy get you, right? Like he's not the guy going for the shield battery Void Ray all in quite as much as anybody else. So his setup a little bit more normal. He is still going to go Cybernetics Core first, so that option's on the table. But with one gas, he might just be going to scout, and Milkicow doing the standard Reaper, double gas. And I'm going to expect him to pull off once he gets the factory going, and Harstem will walk into a wall.
Yeah, it's most likely what's going to happen. This probe obviously turns up quite late, and in Milkicow's mind, very often when I used to play Harstem, he used to have very similar methods of scouting, or not scouting, in fact, because he was quite a greedy boy, was Harstem. I could very often be thinking, oh, wow, that's a late scout. He's being greedy. Maybe he knows that, I'm not going to be mixing it up that much, but, we do know that he scouted the whole damn map for Milkicow, so that isn't the case at all. But here back at home, just an Adept on the way. We do have Milkicow with that single Reaper into Reactor, which is what he did in the first game as well. Just playing a nice, standard, solid game, this Milkicow. Nothing too cheeky early on.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense, especially with the way that first game went. If Harstem wants to play a macro game against you and you can pick him apart like that, not really much reason to risk it or force it and give up that early game too. And then all of a sudden you're like, wow, okay, now it's 1-1 and I need to play really conservatively because I went a little bit too ham. So command center on the high ground, going right away into the Widow Mine on the Tech Lab factory. I don't know if that's, yeah, maybe he just doesn't want to build anything else, I guess, whatever. Not that crazy.
I think sometimes you're affording the depot with that build is actually pretty tight. As you can see, he was like 30 out of 31 for a little bit of time. It's kind of hard to make anything, but oh wow, almost let that Adept in there, but we'll see the Widow Mine. Oh, this game's kind of a bit of a disaster, actually, for Milkicow. Like, losing the Reaper was a big deal because he doesn't get that follow-up scout. You could say, you can make the Hellion, but, you know, we see he hasn't done that. But maybe Harstem is a little bit predictable here because Milkicow is going for the Cyclone and the Viking regardless.
Yeah, so he'll have the preparation for it. Does get the Adept. SCV's trying to save the Widow Mine. Wow, that's not an interaction I think we see very often, but hey, more power to you. Great save. Definitely fantastic there. And the Oracle's going to arrive. You said it, right as this Viking pops out. There's already a Cyclone, so the Oracle comes over to get just the Widow Mine. And a kill here. That's devastating for Harstem.
Yeah, this, you know, from a few things not going Milkicow's way, Harstem was like, you know what? Let's even the score and make it a lot worse for me. I'm going to deal very little damage here. Milkicow handled that very, very well. And yeah, not good at all for Harstem. Harstem will be going up to 4 gases very quickly here, going for that Brobo follow-up as well. He was maybe a little bit worried about taking a 3rd base as quickly as possible. And maybe the right move, because very often you play against Terran players, they'll get out multiple Cyclones, multiple Vikings, and they'll do this big Marine push across the map. So I think that's one thing that Harstem was a little bit scared of with how bad this opening's gone so far.
Yeah, because even if he chronos out the Immortal, it's going to be also a bit of a numbers game. The Siege tanks can zone away. The Cyclones have that ranged harass potential. And the only option that he has to really make anything that can deal with the heavy units is the Immortal and the Phoenix, right? Because if he goes for the lift up, then that can open some things. But Harstem is definitely feeling a little bit of the heat as Milkicow is going to try and send that Viking to harass. And even landing it, it's like, well, I can't run away. I can't kill a Phoenix. I can force you to lift it up and deal with it for a second as that first poke at the front begins. And he lands that Viking at the front as well. So just trying to, I feel like he wants to get in range to lock onto the Immortal, but hasn't quite been able to just yet.
This could get a bit dicey. There's only 1 Immortal out right now. Still quite a bit of firepower. Going to lose his Robo at the bare minimum unless he keeps it alive. Oh, he didn't even go for a bit of repair there with a shield battery or anything. But yeah, this isn't the kind of game that Harstem wants to play. The very fortunate thing is that he does have a base in the back that he can expand to. But right now, he's under a lot of pressure here, Nate.
Yeah, very tense situation as that natural gets sieged. And these 2 bunkers finishing up is going to make it so difficult. You know, those Marines, they can become a lot harder to kill. And I'm even wondering if he's going to do something crazy with, I don't know. Okay, locking onto the shield battery there is a good move. And I guess there's not too much reason to force it here. He's just got a very difficult position to break, but he's gonna give it up, it looks like.
You know, I kind of like this from him because killing as much as he did was kind of scary. He can't get reinforcements over here, so he's like, you know what? Let's just be a bit scary. Let's poke and prod. He's got his 3rd CC up. I don't know if it's turned into an orbital just yet. Let's have a look. See. Hasn't just yet. It will be starting that now, but he's dealing damage, man. Like this tank, look, it's just enough to kill 1 probe on the mineral line. That's already going to make Harstem's life very difficult, and he's ahead in workers.
So he comes up now. The Stalkers get targeted down. They get picked off very quickly. The Immortal Barrier is going to help it bust through the first of the bunker. There is still the SCVs trying to buy a little bit more time on this. The Viking got picked off by the Phoenix. That's kind of the beauty of the bunker. The Phoenix cannot really do anything against it.
Uh-oh, that's that tank. It's like, come on, speed boost away.
No.
Too much rallying.
He's like in his pickup truck, just driving as fast as he can. He looks up to the sky and he just like sees like these 5 glowing lights, and all of a sudden, he's just gone into the air, never to be seen again. And +1 starts for Harstem. Okay, he canceled it. Wow.
I think Harstem was super freestyling a bit, you know. It's definitely an uncomfortable game for him. He didn't want to be in this situation. I'm not sure he's ever been in this situation before, but yeah, having his Robo denied so hard, and when you're going quadruple gas, look at his gas now, Nate. Like, that's ridiculously high, and he's trying to spend it as much as possible. He has a good, like, 500 gas in production with 500 gas still in the bank. But yeah, he's going to try and get some damage done. But right now, they're both playing off pure instinct here.
Definitely not a situation that I think anybody preps specifically for. And actually fighting away from that turret makes it a little bit tough, as these Phoenix can bully. There's just not that many Marines. Stim is not done. 1-1 is not done. He's got all these upgrades that are on the way, but just not quite ready yet. At the end of it, though, it's kind of an interesting situation because he wanted to do that damage, but Harstem's third base, it's that back pocket one to Muslim. He's missing a gas. He's missing 2 mineral patches there. Milkicow's third, it's the one that's up front. He's got access to a little bit more money, and it's also a pretty effective staging ground for trying to limit the harass. So getting to that point is still a pretty nice boon for the Terran.
I'm a little bit, well, I'm very worried for Harstem actually, because the upgrades are coming online for Milkicow now. Does he have an armory already done as well? No, he doesn't. He went for the Ghost Academy first, which I think is actually a pretty damn smart move, because an EMP on this army, like Harstem's army, is not the kind of army that is durable. It's ready for one fight and one fight only, basically. One EMP could literally shut down the entire air squad, and he's fighting against superior upgraded units as well. 1-1 is done for Milkicow at this point.
Yeah, that's a very, very important thing to note. +1 attack. It's only just now starting for Harstem. And the fact that it's the attack upgrade, on one hand, you need it to kill the Marines with the Colossus. On the other hand, the armor upgrade usually generates a lot more value, is a lot more resource efficient for the Zealots. And he does have a pretty large number of them that he's getting charged for. So these Marines will rip through everything except the Colossus, and that will become the focal point of where Milkicow needs to bring his army composition and try to get out enough Vikings that he doesn't get picked off by the Phoenix and can deal with the Colossus.
Yeah, Harstem's going to try and buy time here, so we're going to see what he gets up to. Milkicow, he's scattered across the map with a single Marine, gets to see where the 4th base is going up, and this is quite a juicy count, but look at Harstem. He's doing a really good job. If you keep in mind that his one goal here is buy time, so he's using the terrain really to his advantage, and he's going to try and do that at every possible moment, but if he takes 1 EMP, that's all the energy gone. That makes all the Phoenix useless.
She does get a pretty nice one there on the west half of them, moving up towards not quite where that 4th base really is. It's the one a little bit further north, but it looks like he was just trying to set himself up for a huge drop. Risky play to do with all the Phoenix here, but they are going to unload, and the Colossus kind of pathing into where those siege tanks were. They did not take the fastest route to support this army. And I feel like it's just at some point you're worried about overstaying this as Milkicow, because you do not want to let the Phoenix kill all of the medevacs on the way out. He will get the one that has the fewest units, and actually that one will still be saved. Pretty good control here from Milkicow. He's looking good. That disruptor shot will whiff.
This isn't easy for either player, man. Like, they're both making it so difficult for the other one. You can see Harstem's really trying to do stuff. Oh, is that going to be a juicy disruptor? 10 to fly, gone just like that, and maybe that was exactly what Harstem was looking for. The Phoenix flying from behind as well. This is a lot of damage from the Protoss.
Yeah, he managed to get all the siege tanks with the Zealots too, and the Colossi, all 3 of them still standing strong. Coming up to the Phoenix though with the Marines and getting a good more of those, but they don't really have as many Vikings to have to interfere or mess with. Meanwhile, back home, we did finally get that armory that we were talking about. 2-2 is on the way for Milkicow.
Yeah, the supplies are a little bit deceiving, man, because I keep looking at it and I'm like, all right, it's not bad for Harstem now, is it? But remember, upgrade-wise, still not the best for him. Probe count-wise, look at Milkicow again, man. He's like a little TY in a way. Like, he just keeps having a super high SCB count, and he keeps on rising. He keeps on expanding behind it as well. He's playing a really good game. I love that he starts his +1 air weapons as well pretty damn quickly, because that +2 air weapons, so big with the Liberators.
Yeah, and that was one of the biggest things that helped him win game number 1. His Liberators were unbelievably strong. I feel like that might be one of the reasons why Harstem wants to have the Phoenix too, but they've kind of not done as much later on. Gets one of the tanks at the front. The rest of the disruptor shots don't hit too much. Second one comes through. 2 Marines on it. That one gets a little bit more off the left edge. He wants to get the Vikings to the Colossi, but Harstem, to his credit, he's done a really good job of protecting the units that are the most important in this army. He's been able to build up 5 disruptors, 3 Colossi, and he's building 2 Immortals to add on to this. So he's getting into quite a powerful little Protoss death ball here.
He definitely is. And he keeps on kind of like eking out a few probes here and there. You do see it. He's on 4 bases, or kind of like 3.8, depending on how you want to look at it. But Milkicow, he's taking all the juicy expands, and he's on 4 bases, making a lot of extra CCs as well now. He's just... Milkicow's walking around the map like he owns it. He really is. And every time he sees Harstem, he's not really that afraid of it. And, you know, he has a really solid army.
He does. Good EMP trying to peel off these Archons at the front. And I think that's the biggest thing is he's been very good about getting his expands for a lot of the TVPs this season. That's been a crucial factor is staying on that even number of bases or getting ahead, particularly on Moondance. That convo about which third base you get comes back into play. And even if Milkicow takes a bit of a licking later on, he'll have that base to fall back to if he needs it. Big Zealot counterattack onto his third, though.
Look how fast he was about pulling the SCVs. It was like before the Zealots even got a hit off there. And amidst all that, he's doing a drop over in the south, just clearing up pylons. He's playing so good. I can't emphasize how good Milkicow is playing. He's up to 8 ghosts now. I think his only mistake is he's getting +3 armor, not +3 weapons. But I can forgive the kid, man. He's doing everything else really solid. 86 workers.
And there it is.
Yeah, he starts it up, and he starts up the +2 air weapons as well. He's really, really playing some superb StarCraft.
Yeah, it feels like it's so easy to tunnel vision in on just microing that bio army because you can get so much done with it as that disruptor shot whiffs, but he manages to also get the fusion core booted up, so we will see the return. Oh, no! Gets a few of the ghosts. 4 of them looks like that's a big disruptor hit.
Yeah, and if you ever have time in the VOD chat, go back and look at Milkicow's face, because that's how I feel every time a disruptor shot does go off. It was pure pain, and Harstem does buy himself a bit of breathing room with that.
Yeah, he's got another Zealot harass headed over as well. The map size kind of working a little bit into the favor, then can get across a bit faster without having those front reinforcements. The Ghost Academy is also exposed in this spot too. But it's going to try to just target down this command center since there hasn't really been much put in the way of repair towards it. Just the one SCV doing it actually won't overpower that, so making things a little bit awkward for Milkicow. He's going to have to fix that base up. Does have a little hit squad, though, as he sees the main army in the middle of the field.
Yeah, Milkicow's been really good about just having an army on the map. Not his main army, just a army. And a little bit of a, lift up, and Harstem did spot it. But Harstem, he's starting to gather all his forces, and that is a lot of scary pro-offs. Those Colossus in the back there dealing good damage, shuts down all the ghosts as well. But Milkicow, he just uses this moment. He's like, oh, you're all over here? You got way too much over here. Let's move out. Deal damage on the other side. Holy crap.
Oh, it's a lot of disruptors. This is where those Liberators start to come into play, and I think that we're going to see him start to crank them out. We have 2 building at the moment. Liberator range is being researched, and that ever devastating +2 ship weapons for them. The one that turns them into the god tier units is going to be done shortly. Disruptor shot whiffs there, though. He's just diving in full YOLO mode from Milkicow, and he's picking off quite a few of them. Even with the shield battery, that DPS from the bio is still strong enough to punch through, and there are a large number of disruptors still on the map. He has 5, but he just lost 5 right there. So cut it pretty clean down the middle.
When I'm looking at the production tab, he instantly made 5 ghosts all at once and a bunch of Liberators. Let's see, the Liberator count is just 2 at a time right now. How many starports does the young man have? Let's see, he has 2. Probably both reacted up, but he's just been making nothing but CCs. Like, it's not often you have a Terran that out-expands a Protoss, but those extra few SCVs that he has, how many orbitals is he at, actually? This is kind of getting, he's up to 6. He's going to be making 3 more. He's playing, I love it, man. Absolutely in love with his style.
Yeah, it's very strong because it also affords him not just the income, of course, but a lot of scans. We've been seeing him keep track of Harstem every time he makes one of those steps, and that's what opens up those opportunities for the counterattacks. To Harstem's credit, he's got a good amount of money in the bank. His upgrades are catching up. The DTs, hit squads are coming back into it. These were huge on Cosmic Sapphire. He was able to take out quite a few bases. He already has DT Blink available, so it's not like he's in the worst spot ever. It's just abnormal to have less bases than Terran as the game goes on, but that's just a sign, a kudos to the pressure Milkicow has brought.
Yeah, like I can't emphasize enough that this movement on the map that he's doing, it's very Polt-esque. Always having 2 squads available. If he sees that his opponent committed too hard to one area, he commits to another one massively. And he's making Harstem have to go back home all the time. This is a really good recall by Harstem. He was very quick to make the call. And he has to know that something's up. What is being made on the other side of the map for Milkicow? And the answer is a crap ton of CCs, and he's switching into 3-0 Liberators.
Yeah, a lot of Liberators. We were talking about last game, he went up to about 14 at one point, and Once you get that many, you can just start clicking all over the whole screen, and there's just nowhere for Protoss to walk. So what does Harstem do? Another DT backstab. These have been very strong for him. 11 SCVs take it down, but when you had 90 of them, you still have a pretty healthy economy left after the fact. And +1 air as well as the Warp Prism speed upgrade, Gravitic Driver, both on the way for Harstem. So he's thinking about those Liberators, as they were definitely the deal maker in game 1. Good disruptor shot to clean up the harassment force, and more DTs moving in.
Yeah, Harstem's also making a lot of good moves. You see these little blue dots out on the map? Some of them are pylons. Some of them, what are they on the far right side? We've got like DTs just scattered about. So he feels that as long as he doesn't take damage and he keeps this really solid army together, he's going to do well. But again, look how Milkicow's moving. He sees his army in the middle. He's like, you know what? Let's have an army to the south, clear up things over there. Let's move out to the north as well with a little squad. It's just, they're both... This is some very high-level StarCraft.
Yeah, clears that DT on the northeast. He's going to try to move to that base, has the planetary set up. Dark Templar actually did manage to get away from that planetary. So it really is just a true battle of titans right now, as they're constantly vying for every little inch that they can go for. The DTs were in that back pocket base. He's just hiding there, but the scans are available to clear it out. One DT inside the main. He's going to snipe it. And another DT in that northeast expansion. This is a great way for Harstem to buy himself a lot of time. And if the whole army moves out of position, he can dive on this planetary. But all the Liberators are here. So gonna say that's a no-go on that one.
Milkicow is still very close to max, and maybe Harstem did him a favor by cleaning up a lot of SCVs at this point, because we have 10 orbitals, but he's using so many scans to find out where this army is. Like his vision right now, he's so happy. Oh my goodness, look at these armies clash. I don't think there's any disruptors in this mix. And okay, they're on the far right side, and they do start coming out, but not without huge losses to Harstem. He's getting chased down by Milkicow, and there's still so many Liberators in the mix. Oh my goodness, Milkicow.
Yeah. He can't turn to fight because the Liberators are completely cutting him off, and at the same time that stimmed bio is chasing. Milkicow makes it incredibly deep in. A couple of ghosts, 3 of them I think get hit by that disruptor shot from the side, and you want to try to find a way to flank into this, but he just says, I'm going to cut off the primary route that you would take to get over here. He's going to lift everything up, go into the main base, and what do you do when the Liberators siege the ramp? And even that Nexus, if you were to try to recall to it, all the tech, the infrastructure is pretty much guaranteed to die.
And you know what? Milkicow just said to Harstem, I'm the captain now. Takes over his base. There's DTs everywhere, though. Harstem's not going to give up his ship without a fight. He's attacking multiple bases all at the same time. Milkicow still fairly rich behind it. Does have a lot of minerals, but no gas to speak of. We're turning into a full base race situation. Oh my god, the disruptor. It was huge.
Big shot. That robotics facility, by the way, that he's leaving behind in the main to go dive at these DTs that managed to blink back outside once again, eating the EMP. He should be able to finish that Colossus to try and help fight from the inside, but wow, this game is just freaking crazy. It turns out Milkicow versus Harstem might I don't know. This one's trying to compete for our top series today. Absolute mayhem all over the map. He's going for that northeast base. It's a double planetary setup, but there's just way too much. The 2 Big Daddy Immortals supplementing this with the DTs are going to knock it down. The Liberators show up, but it's just a little bit too late.
Oh my goodness, but holy crap, that was costly getting out of there. Harstem is still mining from 2 bases, not too badly. Like the SV count and the probe count very close together. Milkicow has to be careful. This army, even though it's strong that he has down here, a few disruptor shots will make short work of it. Oh my goodness, what is he doing? He's flying into this. This might be a crazy play. Shield barrier overcharge is done. The Liberator's dealing so much damage. There isn't enough firepower to take out this shield battery, though.
Yeah, Liberators don't shoot photon cannons. He does have reinforcements coming in from the north, however, and that has to be one of the most psychopath moves we've seen in a TVP in a while to Muslim. But guess what? It worked. GG Milkicow.